These are Stiphodon gobies that are in a living aquarium. Now, see what they're doing? They're looking for food. There's a little betta behind following, hoping they're going to dig something up that they can't handle. But watch what they're doing. Watch them as they're eating right off the bottom, finding food in this substrate. There they are, two of them. Now these were put in this tank when they were babies. And you can see they're almost full grown, really, really close. Um, but they're feeding and they're paired off. They're obviously hanging together. So hopefully we've got a pair here. Well, that's the whole idea. That's what we're talking about. Having an aquarium that will provide you with a living environment that little fish can thrive in. Now, this doesn't work so well with really big fish. You can do it, but it's a lot more difficult. But do it with little fish, like these stiphodons and so many of the small tetras. Bettas, certainly. Any kind of live bearer that will be able to find a home down in this bottom, in this substrate. I'm going to be doing another video a little later that's going to show how deep you can make this humic substrate, which is humic material that is leaves, bits of wood, vegetation, rotting vegetation, sitting on top of your deep substrate. How deep can you make that? Well, we're going to show you it can be 2 inches deep. But let's start back at the beginning. How do you do this? How do you actually make the conversion from a sterile environment where there's very little life to a rich living environment? Well, you start off, of course, with some dirt, about an inch of dirt. Now, I've got lots of formulas for that dirt, and I'll post some links below. So you can look at that and determine what it is you want to be able to do. Cap that with an inch to 2 inches of sand, depending on the size of your tank, up to about 40 gallons, 2 inches. Below that, a little less. You want to make sure that the sand is deep enough that the substrate, the dirt, is not going to work its way up into the water column. The critical uh, function of the sand is to prevent that from happening, to keep the dirt from coming in contact with the water. That keeps the substrate down where it belongs and not in the water column, which is going to promote excessive nutrients. Okay, that's number two. Now, what do we do for number three? What's the next step? Well, the next step is humic substance. Now, where do we get humic substance? Where does this come from? Where do we find it? We find it under trays. We find it as detritus in ponds and creeks, wherever there are decaying leaves, decaying vegetation. That's what you're looking for. Now, why in the world would you want to bring something like that into your tank? Well, very simply, because you want to increase the diversity of life living in your tank. Why do that? Why increase the diversity of life? In order to be able to maintain a truly balanced aquarium. It can't achieve balance if it doesn't have a spectrum of life. There's a process that living organisms go through in terms of waste going into the substrate and being broken down and made available to plant roots, which bring them up, which provide food not just for whatever fish or snails or shrimp may be in there, but microscopic life as well. It's the microscopic life that you really need to pay attention to. So when we bring leaves into our aquarium, we need to have the right kind of bacteria and the right kind of fungus that will break those leaves down so that the microfauna, the protozoan, will be able to eat them. They then in turn become food for bigger protozoan, which become food for small fish. So that's the cycle then. Very well. How much diversity do we actually need? Well, according to the best research that's been done by farmers who are employing this technology on their farms, you need about 1,000 different species of bacteria, about 500 species of fungus, and about 200 species of nematodes and protozoan, other protozoan. Well, those are big numbers. How in the world do you do that? It's really quite simple. It's the whole idea of bringing life into your tank from a natural environment because those numbers exist in virtually every natural environment. That's how that natural environment achieves stability with that kind of diversity. So you can't get that out of a bottle. You can't buy a bottle of bacteria at the store and expect it to do the job. Oh, it may have 10 or 15 types of bacteria. It does not have 1,000, not even close to it. So what it'll do is really create more problems than it solves. Because when you have very few bacteria, you have the potential for one of them to get out of control, for the whole thing to get out of balance. And then that one will explode and create problems in your tank. That's where a lot of bad bacteria comes from. It's not bad bacteria, it's just bacteria that's not under control. It's not a control that you can exert by any kind of action other than bringing in a variety of bacteria from the wild, a wide variety. And that bacteria, in the form of rotting leaves, will also contain fungus. Fungus and bacteria work together to break down humic substance. That's the foundation of life. The very best research that's been done on water, freshwater environments, has determined that leaves are the key to the food web. They're the foundation of the food that exists in the environment. So you need leaves, you need humic substances in order to be able to bring this about. How much? Not a lot to start. In a 10-gallon tank, a little handful, just a small amount. Do the project that we recommended a year ago on Easter Sunday in 2021, a resurrection jar. Get some mud and some leaves, some detritus out of a body of water outside. Put it in a jar, fill it with water, set it on the windowsill for 30 days, and see in 30 days how much life is in it. You will be amazed. And you can begin putting that into your aquarium. Now, I know there are all kinds of horror stories about dangerous things you can bring into your tank. Let me suggest to you that the most dangerous thing you can bring into your tank is a fish out of a pet shop that's put in a sterile tank. That's the most dangerous condition you can possibly have because whatever is coming in with that fish is going to explode in numbers. It's going to multiply to the point where it will get out of control. If you have an aquarium that is already balanced, that already has a wide range of bacteria, of fungi, of protozoan living and thriving in it, whatever you put in that tank is going to fit right in. It'll just become part of the community. It will be controlled by the life that is already there. So it's critical to be able to do this if you really want to have a living environment. One more thing while we're on this subject: aerobics and anaerobics. You want to collect aerobics. You don't want to try to collect anaerobics. Now, here's the reason. There are two problems with anaerobics. Number one, a lot of the bad guys live in anaerobic conditions. Number two, you can't transport anaerobic conditions, not very easily anyway, because it's not going to be anaerobic once it's exposed to the air. You take it out of a foot under the dirt and you expose it to the air, all that anaerobic bacteria dies. Almost instantly it dies. So what you're putting in your tank then is a lot of dead bacteria. That creates other kinds of bacteria that you may or may not want in your tank. So don't try to bring anaerobics in. You want to bring aerobic material into your tank. That's critically important. Okay, so that's the bottom line. That's how we get started. Now, we're going to follow this up with a video showing you exactly how to do it, how to build that base, and how to make it happen. Well, hope this has been helpful. Let's take another look at that wonderful video that we were just looking at with the Stiffodon. This is so cool. I just love it. Here they are. These are about 1.25 inches long. They were put in the tank when they were not even half an inch, about 2 months ago, about 8 weeks ago, maybe not quite that long. And here they are, nearly full grown. They'll get a little bit bigger and begin developing some color. Aren't they wonderful? Well, nice to be with you. Enjoyed having a time to talk with you about all this. Come on back. Make sure you join us on Discord. The link will be below. It's a great opportunity to share what you're doing and to be a part of a community that's discovering new ways to keep tropical fish. Bless you all.